Hello and welcome, and thank you for watching. This is Otis Landerholm of Landerholm Immigration, and I'm really excited to have Manuel Ugarte, our very own associate attorney here, ready to share with us Manuel's advice.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here too.
Yeah, thanks. So Manuel, what do you have for us today? What do you want to talk about?
Well, today I want to talk about marriage fraud.
Okay, what is marriage fraud?
Well, marriage fraud is really whether you're filing an adjustment of status application or in removal proceedings being accused, where maybe the government is trying to take away your green card. Whether or not you have a bona fide marriage, whether your marriage is genuine and sincere, or whether you entered it to circumvent immigration law.
All right. So what is kind of the central question that the government is looking for to see whether or not someone actually did enter into a fraudulent marriage?
That's a good question. So by law, the officer should be focusing on the intention of the parties, of the intention of the couple when they got married, whether or not they intended to create a life together. They're not looking here for viability, whether or not this is going to be a successful marriage, or they shouldn't be looking for that happily ever after kind of marriage situation. They look at the intention of the couple when they got married, whether or not they intended to create a life together, and the circumstances of that.
So what's going on? What are the what's going on in your cases right now that makes you want to discuss this issue?
Well, it's tough. You know, some people enter into a marriage and they have hiccups and there's problems, and maybe they're no longer living together, or there's some things going on with their extended families, but they shouldn't lose hope. You know, I think, again, it's not on the viability or how perfect your relationship is, but in whether or not you have your actions show an intention to create a life together when you got married. So looking at your actions at that time, do you have joint accounts? Do you have a banking account together, insurance policies, whether or not you've become one unity in those actions, and for how long?
Good.
Right?
Good. Yeah, you're right. I mean, unfortunately, everybody well, fortunately or not, everybody gets married not knowing exactly what's going to happen, right? And there's always things that inevitably do happen in somebody's life or in somebody's relationship. And if things aren't going as well as you originally thought, that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to, you know, completely destroy your immigration hopes, right?
Right.
So if you're going through that process, you know, who has the burden to prove what?
Well, the burden of proof is on the petitioner, the person, the person seeking to obtain the benefit for their spouse, and that could be the United States citizen spouse or the legal permanent resident spouse. And you have to show by a preponderance of an evidence. It's not a reasonable doubt. It's not this criminal standard in the civil side. It's preponderance by the evidence, and that means that it's more likely than not, that it's more probably true, and that usually, if we put a number figure on it, greater than a 50% chance.
Okay, so you've got to show evidence that it's greater than 50%, that at the time that you married, you had the intention of living together. Of
creating a life together, exactly, yes. And it's important that standard of proof, this preponderance of the evidence, is only for people seeking an affirmative application. So if you're currently in removal proceedings, the standard is higher. You have to prove by clear and convincing evidence, which is higher than a preponderance, that your marriage was entered into for genuine and legitimate means. And unfortunately, there's a presumption that your marriage is illegitimate when you get married during removal proceedings. So it's a very different standard. You need more evidence, and you need to file for that exemption from.
That's good. So if you're a U.S. citizen tell me if I'm hearing you right. If you're a U.S. citizen and if you're in a solid relationship with an immigrant who is potentially going to be in immigration proceedings, you're wiser to marry that person before they enter into removal proceedings than after. Is that right?
That is correct. It's a lower threshold of evidence that is necessary.
Just something to keep in mind. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No. That's it.
Cool. That's it. All right. Well, thank you for watching. And be careful of marriage fraud, but feel free to contact our office if you have any questions related to this, and we'll be happy to help you.